Thorn, Luna, and Dusk walked up to the counter at Haley's and saw Anne hurried over from behind the counter. Haley's was moderately busy today, but thankfully there was no one in line ahead of them. "Hey girls," Anne greeted. "What can I get for you today?" "I'll take a medium hot peppermint mocha," Thorn ordered. "Same for me, but I'll do a small with skim milk," Luna responded. "I'll try one as well," Dusk chimed in, realizing at the last minute she forgot to specify her size. "Medium." "Coming right up," Anne said. "Hey look," Luna remarked quietly as Anne walked back, pointing over the brunette hair and around their age, talking to an older gentleman with gray hair. At first, Dusk didn't recognize who it was because the brunette turned her back, but quickly realized that it was Dawn. The man she was sitting with must be her manager. Dusk wasn't so sure whether she should interrupt the two and say hi, but given a bit of thought, she figured it'd be no harm in greeting her friend. "Hey, Dawn," Dusk greeted, walking over to Dawn and her manager. "Oh!" Dawn looked quite a bit surprised. "Hi, what are you doing here?" "Thorn and Luna and I are getting some coffee, so we stopped," Dusk explained. "We didn't know you'd be here." "Yeah, I suggested this place to my manager as a good spot to meet. By the way, this is my manager, Harold," Dawn introduced. "Harold, this is Dusk. She's a friend of mine who's in the band." "Charmed to meet you," Harold replied. "What band are you in?" "The Hex Girls," Dusk replied. "Oh yes, I believe I've heard of you. I was just telling your friend here that she's got some great songs. She just needs to work on mixing up her image," Harold explained. Dusk raised an eyebrow, surprised that this man was so blunt about the intentions. She immediately didn't really know what to say about that, so she simply remarked, "Oh? Yes, I like Dawn's angle with the heartbreaking songs, but people just don't want to be sad all the time. They also want a charmistic artist with the appeal, who doesn't want some sad sack but a bombshell who's down on her luck, but desperate for an intimate connection with somebody. When somebody's in the depths of despair heartbreak, they can cave in like pleasure. I think Dawn could capture a feeling with her songs." Despite the man's corporate bravado, Dusk could immediately see the right in the jargon, and she felt it all disgusting. "I'm not quite sure I understand. You want to change your image to cater the old adage of cells?" Dusk asked. She knew damn well that this man was trying to do, but she wanted to see how the man would respond by calling out on his distasteful intentions. "Well, that's a little primitive simplification of what I'm trying to do, but you have the basic idea," Harold replied. Quite frankly, Dusk found Harold's strategy a bit repulsive, but as she was concerned, it was gross for a 60-plus-year-old man to be telling a 19-year-old girl to, well, do up her image if it's not what she wanted to do. It didn't practically sound like maturing the NSFW songs was something Dawn would have chosen to do on her own. Even with that aside, Dawn couldn't have done completely exact her change of fame. Dusk would admit that she had thoughts of making songs that were not entirely true to herself but appealed to her fans. However, there was a difference between changing a few aspects of style for a song and being completely untrue to yourself. There was a term in turning to someone that weren't there for fame, as Dusk was concerned, and it was a call to being a sellout. "Alright, Dawn, great meeting you today. Your assignment for your next meeting is read for your old songs, and change everything that doesn't align with the new image. We've got to come up with you," Harold instructed. "I've been already doing that. It's something like good?" Dawn asked, as she started reading one of her songs. "I hadn't. It's been thinking about these we used to do. And yes, I changed it to, I bet you're hard thinking about the things we used to do." "Yes, that's great. That perfectly captures the edgy sad girl image we have in mind for you," the girl replied. "I'll see you next week. Ta-ta." Dusk thought she was going to be sick. Practically of how Harold said we, she assumed them meant the record label. What the hell was that jerk's problem anyway? Why did he think it was okay just to project some random image on an artist who wasn't even a foo-stick to who they were? So cool, right? Harold's such a great manager. He's just got an amazing industry of how he seems to exactly know to market artists into the general public, Dawn replied, seemingly excited, although Dusk didn't know how the hell she could be. Fuck, Dusk could be finding any possible ways to break contract if she got stuck with an awful manager like that. I thought that dude was a Wiener Schnitzel, Dusk snarkily replied. Her tone was angry and brutally honest. You mean like a Wiener Schnitzel? Dawn laughed. I assume that's a creative choice of a swear word intended to be a derogatory. You bet bastard ass it is, Dusk snapped. You're really going to let that old guy do a random image on you and say this is me now? It's not random, Dawn defended. He just didn't make a 70s rocks that his dad listened to while cleaning the garage. He's taken my talent to songwriter who has written songs without a heartbreak, and he's tweaking it to what people want to see. It's really smart, and your manager hasn't talked with you? No, my manager's never told me something that I wasn't already, Dusk argued. Well, every manager's different, I guess, Dawn shrugged out monotonically, her tone becoming calmer, causing Dusk to do the same. Would you change your image if I was writing songs for yourself? Dusk asked. I mean, no, Dawn replied, a small quiver present in her voice. Dusk found it a small glimmer of that moment practically fascinating, as she could see crystal clear in Dawn's eyes of what she didn't really have any desire to do this, but she was just doing it for she believed it was how sold. Now, however, Dawn quickly regained her composure and beginning confidently again. And the edgy part isn't practically meaningful to me, but if it helps makes me famous, I'll say anything. Dawn chuckled after the former remark, but stopped when she noticed Dusk wasn't laughing with her. When you do the same, if it meant the world were famous? Dawn asked. Singing out of stadiums, traveling the country? That admittedly was hard for Dusk to hear, especially given since she'd done all those things, but she tried not to dwell on it too much. Not if I was pretending to be someone completely different than who I am, Dusk answered honestly. I don't know why you would do anything you don't want to do. Are you sure you're okay with changing your image like this? Yeah, in fact, I'm excited about changing image. I'll be really interested to see how people react to my edgier songs, Dawn replied. Anyway, I'm gonna head to my apartment and tweak a couple of my old songs. See you on Friday. Okay, see you, Dusk waved, was a bit distant in her reply. She was admittedly still processing the whole situation, as she felt kind of her own views on making music for the public beginning to change a little. After seeing what Dawn's manager had done, Dusk was confident that she never wanted to sell stuff out like that. If it meant to be untrue to herself, the thought of performing on stage with some skimpy outfit, singing about boys sound repulsive to Dusk. Even though Dusk felt like herself lately, the thought of it completely being somebody that she wasn't was unthinkable to her. She'd be miserable. Dusk, your drink's gonna get cold, Luna called out by the counter. She had been so focused on the situation with Dawn and Harold that she had admittedly forgotten the moment Dusk and Thorn and Luna were there. Did you hear any of that conversation? Dusk asked. Sadly, yes, Luna answered. I mean, it's up to her if she wants to change her image, but I personally think it's kind of icky pretending to be somebody that you're not just for fame. I don't disagree, Dusk chimed in. I just don't want her to get lost in fame. As you know both, I know what it's like. I get that kind of sense that she already is to an extent, Luna said. What do you mean? Thorn inquired. Dusk was just glad her black-haired friend asked, as she was quite confused by Luna's remark as well. Well, she just seems wrapped up in herself and gaining status, Luna stated. I don't feel like she's in vain or anything, Dusk disagreed. I don't mean that in the sense. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just things that I've noticed. Like she considers being a real songwriter, somebody who is constantly writing new material every week, Luna clarified. What's so wrong with that? Dusk snarkily replied. She's just trying to stay on top of her game. It isn't art about the quality that's making the quantity, not quantity and dough, Thorn disagreed calmly. You can make a shitty painting every day and have 30 quality shitty paintings at the end of the month. Doesn't make you a good artist. It's the quality and passion that the core components of beautiful art, at least in my opinion. Dusk was going to argue in Dawn's defense, but surprisingly she didn't feel the same urge as she did earlier when she had broken that promise, and could keep disagreeing, but she'd just be making up reasons to disagree. They were right that Dawn seemed to be wrapped up in wanting to be famous, and seemed to be willing to go any length to achieve that. Honestly, you're not wrong, Dusk nodded. That don't change who the other goes for you too, Dusk, Thorn pointed out. What the hell do you mean by that? Dusk asked. I'm not thinking about becoming some sellout like her. We're worried about you too. If you don't want to write songs every week, don't let Dawn and the others pressure you if that's not what you want, Thorn reminded. Don't worry, I won't. You know me, I always speak my mind. I don't put up with that bullshit if I don't want to do something, Dusk assured. She was pretty confident that once she proved herself to this group, she wouldn't make a heckle about it anymore about writing any more songs. Besides, she had a feeling that all of them were going to think of the band's music video was wicked. She was really excited to meet with Gus tomorrow and get the ball rolling on the music video. She could show up the group and the world that the Hex Girls were back, and as badass as ever. Tomorrow and Friday may very well be the two biggest days of her life.